So welcome everybody. My name is Isabel. I'm the tech teacher for East Brunswick Public Library. Thank you for being here today. This is Intro to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Class number 1, Intro to HTML is going to be 2 classes. So it's going to be this Tuesday and next Tuesday. And then we're going to follow with CSS. We're going to have Intro to HTML, then 2 classes of HTML, 1 class of CSS, and then the last one is going to be Introduction to JavaScript. So the first thing is we're going to need a text editor. So I'm going a little fast because there is a lot of things to cover. So if I'm going too fast, please let me know. Also, I can stay after the class to kind of go through any rough patch that you encounter. And I'm also on Slack a lot. And that's why I encourage you to be on Slack. If you encounter any trouble during, even if you're watching the recording tomorrow and you encounter some trouble, pin me on Slack and I'll try to figure out with you. I taught this class. I taught this class many times during the since 2020. So this is doable even virtually. So we're gonna need a text editor. So what is HTML? HTML is the code language that we use to create websites. So there is a little introduction here. What is HTML? So it's hypertext markup language. So it's a markup language in a structure. It's a raw text, and you can read here. Basically, you're gonna write this code that looks like this. And you're gonna get something that looks like a website. And that's what I'm gonna show you. But before that, we need a text editor. The text editor is kind of like the stove, the oven that you need to put the ingredients so you get the final cake. In the final cake is your website. So how many of you got the chance to create a website with JS Fiddle? So if you had the opportunity to create a website with JS Fiddle, please go ahead and sign in to your website to JS Fiddle. If not, you're gonna have to go to jsfiddle.net. If you feel comfortable with an IDE text editor, if you have Visual Studio Code, etc., go ahead and use that. But I'm only knowledgeable of JS Fiddle and Visual Studio Code. I'm not knowledgeable of Sublime. I used Sublime like 10 years ago, so I forgot about Sublime. So I can help you troubleshoot that. So, but I just taught a class in Visual Studio Code, so that one is fresh, and I just learned how to use JS Fiddle. So those are fair with me. So if you feel comfortable using any text editor or IDE, yes, go ahead. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and try to find JS Fiddle and the website jsfiddle.net. I'm gonna put it in the in Slack. And I'm gonna put it in the chat too. And when you go to the website, the first time, you're gonna have to create an account, and it's very easy to create an account. You just go sign in, And then right here it says sign up. And then you have to create a username. You put your email address, whatever email address you want, and then you create a password, and ta-da, you create an account. Just remember what username and what password you have. So that's the only thing you have to do, and that's it. Okay, so let's start with the text editor. So if you're using JS Fiddle, which is what I'm gonna be talking about it, you're gonna have an HTML file, a JavaScript file, and CSS. Today, we're gonna concentrate only on the HTML. If you go here to settings, and I hope I'm not my picture. I'm gonna make this smaller because sometimes the Zoom picture covers. If you go here to settings, you're gonna see different layouts. I'm gonna use the tabs layout. So I can only use the HTML and have more real estate on my screen. Okay, so you can use whatever you want, but I just want to use only the HTML, because if you do this classic, you're gonna have different tabs for each one. And right now we're not gonna do anything on the other tabs. So I'm gonna use this one, okay? And then we're gonna have the result here. So that's gonna be the demo website, okay? And then we're gonna save. Anytime we put code, we need to save it, otherwise it doesn't exist. And then we're gonna run it, and when we run it, we see the output. Okay, so we have that. So I'm gonna make this to the side. And JS Fiddle, they call every file that we make fiddles. So that's just something they make. And let's put the first one. So if you've never done this, this is gonna be your first line of code. So I send you a file via email, or you can go to Slack and get the file. So there is a file that I send you via email that look like this. So you can either take this file and copy paste it into the, you can copy and paste it here. Or you can go to Slack, and we cannot do in Zoom because Zoom, the chat on Zoom doesn't let you copy. You can go to, if you are here on Tuesday, 2021, you're gonna go up until you see the code. And then you're gonna select this code all the way from where it says HTML, all the way down to the last HTML, and then copy this code. And then we're gonna go to the JS Fiddle or your text editor, and we're gonna paste it. Copy, paste, there it is. So I have to use copy, no copy this code, it's copy. And see, as soon as I copy paste, I see the output, and then I see save. So if all fails, I'm gonna give you the code, this file, and I'm gonna put it in the Zoom chat. But the ideal way is that I put it in Slack, and you can copy paste it from Slack. Once you have the code here, you're gonna save it, and then you have to run it, but it already ran. So let me know if you were able to do that. and then you're gonna save it, and then you're gonna run it, and then you're gonna get your output. So this is a demo website. It's not a live, a real website. It's just a demo website. So this is basically what we're gonna be doing the whole class. You're gonna be taking code either from Slack, usually shorter code than this. It's gonna be snippets. You're gonna be selecting code, copy, and then pasting it into your text editor. This is what we're gonna be doing every class. I'm gonna give you code, you're gonna paste it. I'm gonna give you code, you're gonna paste it. And then that code, you're gonna learn how to modify it. Okay, so once you have the code, we're gonna save it, and then we're gonna run it. So right here, you have an HTML file. So the index, the file is called HTML. Right now, this file lives in this online environment. If I want to have it living in my computer, I will have to do it. I will have to save it in my computer as a HTML file. And that will look, I will have to have an editor, like a visual code editor, and not like the one here. But I just want to show you how it looks like. It'll look like, it will look like this, file.html. So that's an HTML file. So see, it looks different than a Word file. It looks different than a text file. It looks different than anything else. Because an HTML file, the computer recognizes is an internet file. It has a Chrome because the first time I ran it, I chose to run it on Chrome. If I ran it on another, in Firefox, on Edge, or another internet browser, it would have had that default. So it's not a Chrome file, it's a web file that happens to be HTML that happens to be run on Chrome the first time. So that's, if I put a save that created in my computer as a HTML file, that's the index. The extension will be HTML. But this is outside the scope. I will have to have a live-in text editor that works on my computer, like a Visual Studio Code or a Sublime or a terminal or something like lives in my computer. And you wanna familiarize yourself with what I'm talking about, Visual Studio Code. I taught that class like last week, and it's all recorded. But don't worry about it. This is enough. So you have that. Let's talk about the language. What is all these tags? What is all this language we're talking about? So that's what we're talking about. That's the whole point of this class. So let me make this, get myself organized. And all this code is in the handout. So you can go to the handout and take the code and do it yourself later. So, we need, HTML has required tags. So the first required tags are the ones that you see on line 1. So you see these lines. So we're gonna be talking about lines. Anytime I say line 1, line 2, I'm talking about these numbers here on the left. So line 1 is a required tag. And I could have used actually this line. Actually, this is a required tag, but I didn't enter it. So this is actually a required tag. Let me put it on Slack. So we need to add that on line 1. We put it on the chat. Where did the chat go? So you can put it in line 1 because that's a required tag. So that required tag is a document type declaration, and it lets the browser know that version of HTML. So every year or every so often, HTML gets updated. And right now we're on version 5. So this is the one that we need to use for version 5, and it lets the browser know we're running version 5. So that's a required tag. So this is mandatory. You have to put it on 1. And then the other one is we have on line 2, you notice there is this strange looking triangles. So those are called brackets, and we need this bracket here for HTML. So HTML uses these brackets. So opening brackets. So this bracket here opens this bracket. So the first one is HTML. So it's the beginning of HTML. The language, English, this is optional. You don't have to put it on. It's just more specific. You can put Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, but if you don't put anything, it'll default, I think, to English. So you open HTML. So let's take this out so it makes more sense. You open the file with HTML. You have to close it. So in HTML, you open a tag, you need to close it. So there are pairs, open, close. So the only one doesn't have pair, one of the ones that don't have pair is the first one, but this one have pairs. So you see when I clicked the HTML tag, you can see the one at the bottom, line 19, gets highlighted. So they are like siblings. They're like twins. So this is the closing tag. So everything in between are part of the file HTML. So everything that you write has to be in between. You cannot, nothing outside will show up. So those are required tags. So everything between the opening HTML and the closing tag is an HTML tag. And and also if you want to see how it looks on a browser, you can just write show on GS Fiddle and you run it. And this is just a preview. And then you go here to edit. Let me show you here, edit, and you go back. And then any questions about that? We're gonna go with the part where it says head. So again, if I click here, head, and another, it has like, it links to the twin. So these are the head tags. So this head tag contains the metadata information about the website, but it doesn't get printed. Usually it goes, actually this, when it says title, this goes on the tab, but we cannot see it on this developmental, on the JS Fiddle, because we're not in a real website environment. If you are on Visual Code, you will see it, but we don't see it on our online editor. But if you run it like in Visual Code, you will see it. So you will see here title. So this title will show up here as a tab here. So that's why this title here, it will show here as a tab, but we don't see it on JS Fiddle. you will see in JSFeeder when you upload it to as a real website. So that translates as a tab, but anything between the head, it won't show up in the body of the website. So, and all the HTML should have a title, and there are other things that go in the head. You will see it's very important information will go in the head. Actually, a lot of information go in the head, especially when we start adding CSS. The other thing is the indentation. You will see here the indentation. The indentation is not like in another language, like in Python, where if you have the indentation wrong, you are kaput. You won't run. In HTML, the indentation is so you are able to read your code in a very not only you can read it, but other people can read it in an easy way, and it keeps you organized. But the code will run with bad indentation or with messy and sloppy indentation. But it's a good practice to have good indentation. So it's always good to have good indentation. For example, if you have, this is body, is the main tag. So you're gonna put the headings, goes inside the body. And then if you have something like, for example, if you have something, we're gonna add something inside the heading, that will be indented inside the heading. It's just to keep yourself organized and know how the elements go inside your website. And then we go with the anatomy of the language of HTML. So you have the element. So for example, here you have the element, but the content is the brown bear, which is what you see here, the brown bear. You don't see the tags. And then you have the opening tag and the closing tag, but the whole thing is the element. And then there are different tags. You have paragraph tags, you have heading tags, you have all image tags, you have video tags. So you have a lot of different tags that you can use. So then you have the body tags, is when you put the content inside it's going to be displayed in the screen. And then, so let's start adding. So right now we have the headings. So everybody has the heading. Let's start changing this heading and see what happens. So everybody on line 10, you have heading 1. Heading 1 is the main heading. So you're gonna see that that's the main heading. So you see it's the biggest heading, and then it's heading 2, then heading 3, then heading 2. You have to be consistent and do not use headings because they look pretty, because you want a bigger headings. They're also used for visual impaired. So they're used for organization rather than aesthetic, because they organize the main title, the subtitle, the third title, and so on. Like the main title, then the secondary title, the third main title, and so on. They are not used because this is look prettier here and this, I like how this one looks. No, it's for organization. But for now, let's try to change the numbers and see how they look. So I'm gonna put H2 here and then save it and see how they change. So let's put here H2, let's put here 6 on 811 and put 6. See how it gets so little, the 6. So let's do here 7 and do it backwards from 7 to 1. And then we can change it. So 7, then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So change it and see how it looks. And then you can change them again for next class. So everybody changed them? Yes? Okay. So that's how you start changing the code. And then we have comments. So the comments are little post-it notes that you put in your code that help you, give you notes about the code. So here you can put, remember to change the headings back. This code is just is no code, it's just comments. And by putting these tags here, it's not going to run. This little, these tags here with exclamation point is not going to run. The other thing is you can comment out part of your code if you want. So you can do this. If you don't want something to show up because you are experimenting with something, maybe you are trying something out and you don't want something to show up, you can comment out lines of your code while you are trying something out. So this is very useful because you should never delete your code. You should comment it out while you're trying to fix it, or we're trying something new, or where you're trying to redesign it. And comment out the part that you think it's not quite right, or maybe you want to keep it and try something new so you don't delete all your code. So this is a very good tool for programmers. Comment, they always use the commenting out feature. Okay, so also we can do styling. So for example, I can use other tags like EM. And then see, when I, in GS Fiddle, when I put one tag, it's gonna open the closing one. So I'm gonna cut this one and I'm gonna put it here and see what happened. So this one, it put the brown bear in italic. So let's put this one, I'm gonna change it to H1 so it looks bigger. You can do the same thing with your code and you can put it anywhere you want. You don't have to put it where I did. And then we can put strong. And I'm gonna take it here and I'm gonna put it here. and see if it works. Pieces. No, it didn't work. Should have worked. It should be bold, but it's not bold. Maybe because the default is already bold. Let's see if I would do one. Yeah, the default is already bold, so it has to be another kind of um, font that it would let me do that, because no, this font is already. Let's see about. Let me see, maybe 7, 6. Let's try 6. No. So if I had another font, it'll show up that it was. Okay, line breaks. Anybody knows line breaks? How to add line breaks? So line breaks, if I do this, I do add extra line, nothing happens. So anybody knows how to add line breaks? Any ideas? So it's not by adding lines. Yeah. It's actually easier than that. It's by it's just BR. It's just BR without no closing one. You don't have to close it. No closing tag. So each one is a line. Each one of these is a line. So these ones that I put here is nothing. They don't add anything. So we can put one here. See, it had add one there. Mine is extra big because I made my screen extra big. So no closing tag, just one. An ordered list. So we can do a list. So an ordered list it's easier to do it in Word, but we can put here. I'm just gonna copy paste it here. So these are an ordered list are like the bullets that you put in Word, and you have to have indent. You have to indent it here. So they make sense. There it is. So that's on an order list. So you can see is that. So let me put that in Slack. And in the chat, although in the chat you can copy paste. And then the ordered list, anybody has an idea? The ordered list. So is the unordered list is UL? Yeah, OL. So same thing. We have to indent this. And then we're gonna indent this. And then save. And there it is. I know this website doesn't make any sense. We're talking about bears and then it's talking about recipes. Okay, so the image, you want to add an image. If you have a living text editor, you can use your a link from your computer. So, but if not, you have to use, if you are using JS Fiddle, you have to use the link as I'm gonna give you. So if you're using JS Fiddle image, you have to use, JS Fiddle doesn't allow you to upload pictures. You have to use, upload it in an image file on the web, a host, a website that hosts images like Imgur or something like that. So I already put a link. So you can use that link. And if you have if you have a VS Visual Code, you're gonna change this for the path to the image. So you have to upload the image to your folder, the folder that you are mapping your text editor to, and copy the path and put the path here. For us, I'm using this site here, and I just took this picture, and where it says share, I took the direct link, and that's what I put as the link. And I use, this is the image tag, and then here as the SRC, I have to put the link where I'm gonna direct the website to get the picture, and that's the link I use. And then I don't have to put the width. I just put it because what happened is if I don't put the width, you're gonna see what happened. It's huge. The picture is huge. So if I put the width 50%, and I only put the width 50%, I don't put the height, so it doesn't distort the picture. Because if I put the height, then the picture gets distorted.